From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I have Matthew Stafford with me, and we're going to talk all about website conversions. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. The SDM show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I'm here with my guest, Matt Stafford, and we're going to talk all about website conversions. How are you, Matt?
I'm excellent.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So you've got a wide variety of experience in website conversions. How did you get into that realm, that niche and that realm of things?
Yeah, so this is an interesting story. I actually had a commercial concrete business for 23 years, and I went to a Tony Robbins event, and
Okay.
he had a program called Money Masters, which was a
Yep.
DVD program. And each month you got a DVD and a little booklet that described the person that they were highlighting. And my first one was Frank Kern selling ebooks on how to teach your parrot to talk. And he was doing like $100,000 a month. And I was like, that's crazy. I've been using my computer to send blueprints and do estimating, but never thought about using it to make money.
Yeah.
And so I started watching those. And within about 4 or 5 months, I was like, man, I'm going to figure out how to make a living online so I don't have to travel because I was on the road for about 200 days a year.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm going to figure this out and I'll be 100% online in 5 years. And it was almost 5 years to the month that that happened. And so that's what got me into working online. And during that transition, I was selling t-shirts. And so what we do is we come up with images or sayings and put them on t-shirts and then sell them, run Facebook ads at them and sell them.
Mhm.
And I did really, really well with that, and well enough that I sold the concrete business and was online. And my second business, I opened a Shopify site and started selling kitchen tools.
Okay.
And that's the one where I realized I thought like I was really good at running ads. I thought um, ads are so volatile. They're up and down and good and bad. And again,
Mm.
this is 10 years ago. What can I do to make that more consistent? And there was a guy selling a course on how to look at Google Analytics and
Mhm.
understand your data. And so I spent $1,000 for 6 phone calls and at that point in my store, I had added a whole bunch of apps and a bunch of other things, and my sales kept getting worse and worse. And then when we looked in the data and analytics, we were able to find out what was causing the problems, fix them, and restore our sales to 400 or 500 sales a day.
Wow.
And in that process, I was like, wow, everybody is talking about ads, but really, if we fix the website, the ads work better. And that sent me on the rabbit hole of figuring out data and analytics so that when we worked on the website, everything else about the business worked better.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. If the website doesn't work well, the business typically, even if you get traffic to that website, if the website is garbage, if the website is slow, and we'll get into some of this stuff, if the website doesn't have the right offer for the potential customer or the reader, it's not going to generate sales. So what people forget is getting traffic, i.e., SEO or ads to the website, is only part of the equation, really.
Yeah, and I would venture to say that that's the first thing everybody thinks they need, and it's really
Yep.
the second.
Yep.
Because what I hadn't realized, because I wasn't proficient at it back then, I had taken a really good store. We were making 400 sales a day,
Mhm.
and by adding things, I had slowed it down so much that the load time
Yeah.
was over 10 seconds. And
Mhm.
in that process, I didn't know that because my site was cached on my computer, so it would load
Yeah,
right away.
of course.
And I had no idea why the sales kept getting worse and worse no matter what I did until I understood that and then went through and started cleaning it up. But if you think about it, y- we didn't realize that was causing almost a 90% bounce rate.
Hmm.
So by doing that, that means 9 out of 10 visitors that I paid to go to my website bounced. And then I
Yeah.
was wondering why we couldn't be profitable with ads. Well, because all the people I was sending there were actually never looking at it, even though the ad said 100 people landed on it. Nine out of 10 left without ever even seeing a single thing.
Yeah, because we all know if people have to wait for that website to come up, people aren't going to stay. They're gone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's I mean, speed's an interesting one. There's a couple factors in speed. Number one, people like to, business owners have a tendency to put full res images up on the web. And that's a problem. When you're loading images off a smartphone that are 3 meg and 4 meg because they're 30 pixels and 40 pixels, that just slows down your website to a crawl. Like that one just comes to mind right away, right? It's too big.
Yeah, 100%. It was so bad that Shopify
Yep.
actually put in protection against that. So it automatically lowers the resolution of it so that it will load quickly because they understand that um, the web is only going to display a certain amount of image
Mm-hmm.
anyways. And so in order to do that, people need to be conscious of it for
Yeah,
sure.
and what they also got to realize is there's a reason when you go to media sites like CNN and the Star in Toronto or the New York Times in the US or any of the big papers, you look at their images, they're 100K, they're 80K because they're not posting these for print. If you're doing print, hey, it's a different ballgame. Or if you're doing them to download to print them, that's a whole new ballgame, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
for a traditional site. The other problem with speed is, and you're saying you've built your website with Shopify. A lot of people, small business owners, use WordPress sites
Yep.
in a big way. And the biggest problem with WordPress sites is people like to load 25 WordPress plugins. And
Yeah.
they don't realize that the more back-end data that they load, it slows your site down. And you got to be really careful about what plugins you load. Do you test them? Do you have, I know when I build sites for clients, I have a set stack that I use that it's A, B, C, D every time. I know they don't conflict with each other because that's the other problem. Conflicts will cause speed slowdowns as well. And that's part of
Yeah.
the issue. You got to really watch what you load too.
Yes, 100%. And there is tools that you could test your
Yeah.
website speed and they have a waterfall, which will show what's slowing it down, what's causing the problem. And
Mhm.
once you do that, you can go in and alleviate that. But yeah, that was just, I was totally unaware of it
Yeah,
until,
I'm sure.
yeah, an example like this, having a podcast where you can listen to and get little ideas on where you're going to go look for the problems that might be happening.
So true. I do want to share a story. My site's a WordPress-based site. And 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I made a move from a traditional page builder to the WordPress Gutenberg ecosystem. Now, with some add-ons, but still, I moved that way. And a couple of my good friends who are also devs stood there and said, "Hey, you don't want to do this. It's new. It's this. It's that." I said, "Yeah, I do want to do this because what I care about is website speed scores, and I'm prepared to bet money. Once I make that move, I will change." So to give you an idea on the GT metric score, and those who don't know, GT metrics is a good way to measure the speed of
Yes.
your
Yes.
website and is free. When I made that move, I dropped 14 points off my speed. So my speed went up by 14 points. So I went from 71 to a 91 basically overnight. So if you think running what you're running in the background, you should try it. Try some experiments because you'll find that sometimes that's a big deal.
Yeah, and what happens when you get your speed correct, Google will send you more organic traffic
Yep.
because
Yep.
uh, the website experience is better for the user, and so you will get preferential treatment if your website scores are higher.
Yep. And anybody's who's listening, those words are like boom. Your speeds are you'll get more organic traffic. So that's a big deal. Um, so let's jump on further into conversions because I love this conversation. You and I talked about a week ago and we kind of hit it off and said, geez, this is something I'm really passionate about. I'm going through this with a client right now. So let me find out way the scenario. He won't like me, but that's okay because he's going by the dodo bird in 14 days. So it doesn't matter here. So he's in the pet business. And I'm going to call the business out because
In the
pet
what
business
business?
in the pet business.
Pet business is a good
Yeah,
business. Yeah.
yeah, is a great business, but he's not generating sales. And I keep saying, and he's saying, well, I'm posting ads and the ads aren't doing anything. And I've come back to him and said, well, you should be paying to remodel some of this because your offer's not that good and your site's not generate conversions, even though you're getting numbers to the site. And he's kind of saying, well, I don't want to spend money on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because the pet business, there's a couple businesses. Pets one. I hate to say it, sex is another. Like,
Yeah.
the adult business is another. There's certain businesses that generate revenue no matter what the economy is doing, no matter what the political situation is, which I'm not going to get into at all.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but you get what I'm saying, right? And he's
Yeah.
just of that mindset that they go to a site, they'll buy, and it doesn't work that way, does it?
No, and I've done a lot of, because I've been on the back end of a lot of businesses,
Mhm.
and I've thought about this an enormous amount of time and
Yeah,
thought through why do people irrationally spend money on their pets? And I believe that, to be totally honest, it's the only place that they get unconditional love.
I agree. Boom.
And when you think about it, that dog or cat, uh, more so dogs, cats are a little more finicky, but they certainly have owners that are, match their personalities. Um, they have someone that when they come home is genuinely excited to see them and
Mhm.
always in a good mood. And nowadays, with the amount of news and all the other things that we're bombarded with every
Yeah,
day
yeah,
that's negative, to have that pet that gives them that unconditional love makes a huge difference. And I've witnessed multiple stores that we've been on literally go from, you know, small numbers to multiple millions a year when they take good care of the customer and their site works well.
yep. So true. Um, Before we dive into real specifics, I have to ask you, does the platform matter for conversion? Shopify versus WordPress versus Wix versus Weebly versus some independent CMS
Yeah,
like
I
Joomla?
would say we have discovered that. We've migrated several over to Shopify, and just
Mhm.
literally in the migration alone, their conversion went up.
Yep.
So I think a lot of that has to do with there's so many Shopify sites now that it's very
Yep.
prototypical,
Yep.
meaning people are familiar with the layout, people are familiar with what the checkout looks like, et cetera. Because we used to be able to make changes in the checkout and get huge lifts.
Mhm.
Nowadays, people are so used to the checkout. We can still get lift in there, but nothing like we did in the past. And I think that is just come from the maturity of e-com and the fact that
Yep.
people go through that shopping cart so often now that they're very familiar with it.
Yeah. What I would say is one of the reasons websites don't convert well is because the checkout process is really bad in many
Yes.
websites,
Yes.
and it should be simple and easy. You should be able to go in, drop in a credit card, you might try and upsell them or not upsell them before the checkout process. I mean, Amazon does really well at doing that, to be honest with you.
It's hard to
Um,
copy Amazon though. People go to Amazon to buy.
yep,
Typically, the traffic that a regular store owner sends is interruption marketing. So they
yep,
interrupted them in the process of something, and then they decided to buy. It's a totally different buyer, in my
yep.
opinion.
But the point I'm getting at is if the checkout process frustrates the customer's not going to convert. It better be streamlined and easy to get your credit card number in there, be done, and you better be using a payment processor that's not on the website to protect your security and be done and gone. And here you go, right?
Yes, 100%. I believe as long as they're on the website, they're considered a browser.
Yep,
The moment they put something in the cart, we consider them a shopper and we treat them differently.
yep, yep.
I don't agree with having a whole bunch of upsells before the checkout.
Okay.
I do agree with them after the checkout
Yep, I do too.
because we have watched the data downstream and excuse me. Excuse me.
That's okay.
The amount of people that leave the process when you start adding upsells gives you less customers and it incrementally increases your average order value. But the downstream effect is it's still a net loss, whether
Yep,
you realize it or not. Most people don't track their data enough to see that.
yep,
I would rather have the client and then be able to market to them over and over. So once
yep.
they have something in the cart, we believe that unless it's an absolute no-brainer
Hmm.
upsell, like maybe a case for what they just bought or a hat or where they don't have
I
to
get that.
go
Yep.
back into it, just get them to check out and be done.
Yeah. And a good place to put the upsells, frankly, is on the thank you page, which in most e-commerce sites is the most underutilized and wasted space out there, actually.
I agree. And part of the conversation that we had, and this is a writer downer for your audience, is the very first thing we do when we engage with a client is we put a question that pops up on the thank you page that
Mm-hmm.
says, "What was the one thing that almost made you not buy?"
Yep.
And when they answer that, they will tell you the issues or the things that they didn't understand or what was annoying. And then you can use that information and go back through and um, edit the site to make it smoother for them. And I will tell you, and I told you on our previous discussion, probably 6 of our 10 biggest wins in the last 4 or 5 years came from that question. On the sites that we deal with, they do millions of dollars. So those
Mm-hmm.
those 6 wins uh, were, you know, they accounted for millions and millions of dollars
Yeah.
in extra revenue by getting those things clarified and fixed on the sites that we work on.
I so agree with you on that one. Um, does the placement of things like buttons on the side, where they go at the top of the page, lower on the page, does that matter? Increase conversion? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, it does. My thought, I know a lot of people, um, their mentality goes to button colors. And what we've found through extensive testing is that the button color doesn't matter near as much as that it doesn't match everything else on the page so that it stands out. And we call that the hierarchy of focus. Like, what is
Yep.
the next most important thing that you want them to do, which would be click the button. And so when that stands out, if your theme is black and yellow, you could use an orange button or a green button or a blue button,
Hmm.
something. What matters more is that. And then the second thing is the text that is on the button. And it needs to match what the action is that they're taking. So
Yep.
if you're on a product page and you have buy now, that doesn't actually match what they're doing. They're actually, when they click the button, it's going to add it to cart. So it should say add
Hmm.
to cart. And when you're in the cart, it shouldn't say buy now. It should say proceed to checkout. And
Yep.
from proceed to checkout, continue to shipping, etc. So you want the micro steps because what happens is
Hmm.
when you go buy now and they're just adding it to their cart, they're actually not ready to buy yet. A bunch of people put three, four items in their cart because we watch thousands of videos. They'll put a whole bunch of items in their cart and then they'll shop and remove the things from the cart that they don't want. So how
Yeah.
your cart functions and how it displays things matters to a lot of people in the way that they shop.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I deal with a online flower store in Toronto. And one thing I discovered was if I leave the stuff in the cart and I go away and I don't need it right away, after an hour, they'll send me a discount coupon.
Yeah.
I figured this out. So I have to admit, I game the system every time. I do my order an hour before I need. I leave it in the cart and they send me a discount coupon. And then I check it out. So you got to be very careful too as a store owner how you set your system up because if it's the same thing every time, people are going to find a way to get those discounts, and that's not really what you want. But you
Yeah,
know,
I don't believe that discounting is the way.
yep,
That's why we don't call what we do conversion rate optimization because
yep,
you can game conversion rate by lowering prices or have a sale. And the truth of the matter is that doesn't necessarily make you more money.
yep,
What we care about is the entire experience from when they land on the site till when they pay you.
yep,
And by doing that, I think, revenue matters and but not all revenue is equal. So we want to optimize the entire experience on the website so that they want to spend money with you. So it's easy to spend money with you, not coerced through a sale every time. Because otherwise, what will happen is they'll wait until you put stuff on sale if you've conditioned them
yep,
to only
yep.
buy then.
Yeah, it's so true. It's all how the customer is conditioned and how to lay out. When you're working on conversions and trying to figure out what works on a site or not, does heat maps kind of help you out a little bit, or does that
Yeah, for
sort
sure.
of
Yeah,
what's the
we
what do
definitely
you?
use heat maps and in the video, recordings of people on the site.
Yep,
So we're watching what they're scrolling, what they're clicking on, where they pause. Because if your conversions go up and it's three-quarters of the way scrolled down the page, for us, we go, oh, okay, we're answering a question here that people need to know in order to make a buying decision. How do we get that answer up above the fold? Because we know
yep,
the majority of sites, about 60% of people never scroll. And so that means 60% of the people that need the information that's below the fold to make a decision are leaving without buying because they don't see the information they need.
yeah. And on mobile, that's even more or less space because your space on a mobile phone is condensed, and people
Right.
just don't always scroll down, right?
Right. And then they put in portrait pictures instead of landscape. So it
Yeah,
takes up three-quarters of the screen and
yeah.
the padding. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that you
Mhm.
can edit that will make a huge difference in the usability of your site and also the conversions.
Yeah. Um, from what you've seen out there, what's the percentage of mobile conversions to desktop conversions these days? Any idea?
Yeah, so yep, we do know that and we track it because we have a certain set of metrics that we look for as far as to reverse engineer what's happening or what the low-hanging fruit on the site is.
Hmm.
And so mobile will always be about half of whatever your desktop and tablet is. So
Okay.
if your desktop and tablet are converting at 4%, your mobile should convert at 2% or better. If
Oh,
it doesn't, then you know that you can increase conversions there.
that's interesting because I know when I go buying as a consumer, I'm more likely to buy on a mobile device than on my desktop or tablet. Interesting enough, it's just the way I function, right? So,
Yeah, it's about 80% plus of your traffic will come on mobile now.
yep.
Uh, Depending on your product, a really good thing to do if they need more education or if it requires a lot of pictures for explanation is to target them on mobile so that they see it
Hmm.
and then retarget them back to desktop.
Back to
And
desktop.
and you'll see that the retarget back to desktop on a lot of sites will actually convert very high and be very profitable because your experience on desktop is totally different than it is on mobile.
Yeah, so true. Do certain types of ad networks, i.e., Facebook ads or Google ads or any of the independent networks or things like Reddit, do they help more from conversions or are they kind of, it doesn't matter?
I don't think that matters. There's certainly good quality traffic and poor quality
Yep.
traffic.
Yep.
But for us, we don't run media. We just work on the conversions on the website. So we certainly look and can say, hey, this traffic that you're sending from Google's not working,
Hmm.
or it is working. But in all reality, if they're coming from those particular sources, you've done a good job with your ads. Everybody goes, "Oh, my ads aren't converting. My ads aren't converting." No, that's not true.
True.
If someone shows you an ad and you go, "Oh, I'm interested in that," and you click and go to the website and then leave, that doesn't mean the ad didn't convert. The ad did its job. It got the people to your site. And so I end up getting, quite a few site owners frustrated with me because I tell them, no, if the ad guy is sending clicks, then it's your website that needs the attention. And once that gets the attention that it needs, you'll convert a lot more of those clicks.
Yeah, so true. Um, is there anything else a site owner should be looking at to make sure their conversions go up or not up?
Yeah, I would say the biggest lifts that we get in the sites that we work on come from removing things.
Yeah,
So most sites are too crowded and
agreed.
uh, so a lot of times the site owner has done customer service for a while, and every customer service complaint, they think they have to go put that on the website. And they don't go through the process of each page has a specific reason or
Yep.
purpose, and then entering the question that the customer has in their mind at the point that they're at. So
Mhm.
again, a perfect example is when you see all the quick add and buy now on the homepage. The
Yep.
person doesn't have enough information on a quick add or buy now button on the homepage to make $100 buying decision. And so having that there, that just shows you that the owner is looking to try to sell more instead of solve the customer's problem. And so what we say is each page has a specific reason. The home page is to build trust and easy navigation to what they're looking for. If they
Mhm.
can narrow down what they're looking for on the home page very simply, your conversions go up because now they don't have to scroll through all your products
Yep.
in order to
Yep.
find what they're looking for.
Yeah, and you don't honestly to convert, you don't want to give the customer too many choices either. People have a tendency to do that, or they'll play. My favorite one is they'll play the landing page game, and they'll put a product on a landing page, and then they'll do things like put all kinds of navigation at the top, all kinds of navigation at the bottom, and you're basically giving the customer too many options. Like if you're gonna play the landing page game to sell a product, drop the navigation, get rid
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah, it's
force
called
them to the
paradox of
page.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you give them too many things to do, they freeze or they're like, "Oh, this is going to take a while. I'll just come back later."
Or they'll get distracted and start playing with even worse and go down a rabbit hole. And we all know where that goes, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't
it ends up in no sale. Yeah.
in no sale. Yeah. They do that. So like narrow down your choices. That's one of the biggest things I see is people offer just way too much. What's the typical size of a business and a typical website and a typical platform that your company deals with, Matthew?
Yeah, so I would say our ideal client is between that 100,000 to 250,000 a month.
Yep.
And what we do, we know that they have a working product, they understand how to run media, they have a
Mhm.
business, and we can take that and really make a huge difference. And that's kind of why our name is Build, Grow, Scale. We
Yep.
give people best practices for free. There's all kinds of free content on our website that will help them build and increase their conversions. And then when they get ready to start split testing and really driving media, that's where we step in and shine.
Yep. And if somebody wants to find out about you or your company, where's the best place to go?
Matt at buildgrowscale.com is my email, and our website is buildgrowscale.com. Uh, we have a couple of smaller offerings, obviously, where people are, um, if they're doing the ten to $20,000 a month range, we have an 8-week program. And then
Mm.
other than that, like we're looking for partners that we can partner with and help them scale their e-com brand.
Yeah, and check it out because I think in e-commerce, I think one of the biggest problems is people don't know how to scale. They don't know how to convert, and then they wonder why they're not doing anything. And it takes a lot of work. It's not an overnight, let's drop a website in. It doesn't work like it did 15 years ago, where you just kind of drop that site in and people just buy. The buying public, I think, is more educated and fickle today. I hate to say that, than ever
Yeah,
before.
yeah. Over the last 7 or 8 years, we've helped 170 stores hit the $1 million mark,
Wow.
and we've helped a little over 20 hit the $10 million mark. And then we have, I would say, 3 or 4 that's in that 40, $50 million a year.
Yeah, and most of that isn't from viral traffic. That's just
No,
from working hard. Like
yes,
really.
yeah, 100%. And I'll give, the credit to the owners of those stores.
Yeah.
They're coachable and they're hard workers. And the one common denominator of all the stores that we see that are successful is the owner has a relentless pursuit of very, very good customer service. So you
Yeah.
take care of the customer and you do what's right by them. And over time, that generates a really long-term healthy business.
Yeah. Matthew, thanks so much for this. I really appreciate it. I'm sure people get out, check out buildgrowscale.com if you're interested in the services they provide. They'll probably, if you're in that echelon, they'll get you to where you need to be. You have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thank you, Ron. Or Rob.
This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Matthew for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.